The station hung like a silver ring above Jupiter, its smooth surface reflecting the planet's swirling clouds. Orbital Station EOS, the Galactic Council's main base near Earth, was usually a place of peace and diplomacy. Today, it was full of tension. Jackson Roan stood near the council hall doors, his eyes scanning the crowd. He wore the uniform of a diplomatic security officer, black with a silver badge on his chest. Calm and alert, he watched every movement. Delegates from dozens of planets filled the room. Tall ones with green skin from Tyrellin, short ones with glowing eyes from Ventric. Even the robotic envoys from the Mechari Empire were present. Today was supposed to be routine, a trade agreement renewal between Earth and the rest of the Council. Jackson had attended these sessions for years. Nothing exciting ever happened, but today felt different. Earth's ambassador hadn't spoken to anyone all morning. No handshakes, no smiles, only silence. Jackson tapped the communicator in his ear. "No signs of trouble," he said softly. "But something's off." He moved toward the main stage, where a large screen hung over the hall. Suddenly, the lights dimmed. A chime echoed. The council's attention turned to the stage. The Earth ambassador, a tall man in his 60s named Ren Vero, appeared on screen. But something was wrong. He didn't stand at a podium. He wasn't in the council chambers. Behind him was a plain gray wall. His face looked pale, almost tired. "This message is sent by direct order of Earth's Interplanetary Command," the ambassador said. His voice was flat, cold. The room grew quiet. "Effective immediately, Earth is withdrawing from the Galactic Council. All agreements are void. All trade, military, and diplomatic ties are severed." Gasps filled the room. Some delegates stood. Others shouted in confusion. Jackson froze. The ambassador continued, "Do not attempt to contact Earth. Any foreign vessel entering our system will be treated as a threat." The screen blinked. The message ended. The lights came back on, but the room stayed silent for several seconds. Then, chaos. Council leaders rushed toward the stage, yelling questions. Why now? Is this war? What happened? Jackson didn't move. His mind was racing. Earth wouldn't do this. Not without warning. Not like this. He stepped back, pressing his earpiece again. "Command, this is Officer Roan. Did we know about this announcement?" Static. "Repeat. Did we authorize this message?" More static. No answer. He turned toward the private exit and slipped out of the hall. He needed answers. If Earth really cut ties, everything would change. Peace, trade, even survival. And deep down, Jackson knew this wasn't just politics. Something darker was happening. Jackson moved quickly through the silent corridors of Orbital Station EOS. The walls were cold metal, lined with blue lights that flickered slightly, as if the station itself was nervous. His boots made soft echoes with each step. The council hall was behind him now, but the chaos still rang in his ears. He tapped a panel on the wall and entered a secure area, his office. The door slid shut behind him. Inside was a small desk, a wall screen, and a command console. He sat down and opened a classified network. His clearance as a security officer allowed him to access encrypted communications from Earth's command. If there were any warning signs, he would find them here. His fingers moved quickly over the console. Lines of code and messages scrolled by. Most were routine. Shipment reports, diplomatic briefings, patrol updates. Then something strange caught his eye. Order 44A. Initiate defense protocol. Orbital shield phase 1 active. Sender, Chancellor Viral Thorn. Earth Interplanetary Command. Date, 2 weeks ago. Recipients, Earth High Command only. Jackson leaned back in his chair, confused. Earth had activated a defense system without telling the Council. A full orbital shield, designed to block or destroy incoming ships. That wasn't defense. That was preparation for war. He saved the file and locked the screen. A knock sounded at his door. "Roan, it's Kellis," a voice said from outside. Jackson opened the door. Kellis Tharn stepped in. She was tall, with smooth green skin and silver eyes. She wore the long black robe of a Tyrellan diplomat. Jackson had known her for years, trusted her. "You saw the broadcast?" he asked. She nodded. "The council is in panic. Some want to vote for sanctions. Others are calling it a declaration of war." "They don't know the half of it," Jackson said. He showed her the file. Her silver eyes narrowed as she read it. "This isn't normal. Earth has never hidden weapons from the council." "I think this goes deeper," Jackson said. "I think Chancellor Thorne planned this." Kalis looked at him. Why would he do that? The council brought peace, trade, technology. Why walk away? Jackson shook his head. "Fear, power, maybe both, but we need proof." Kalis crossed her arms. "If Earth is hiding more than this, the council will strike first. That's why we can't let that happen," Jackson said firmly. "We need to find out what Thorne is planning before this turns into war." Kalis thought for a moment, then nodded. "I can get access to council intelligence files. They've been tracking Thorne for years, but I'll need time. You'll have it. I'll keep digging from here." They looked at each other, two old friends caught between worlds. Outside, the stars were quiet, but inside, both knew a storm was building. 2 days had passed since Earth's sudden exit from the Galactic Council. The council chambers were still filled with arguments, fear, and confusion. Rumors spread faster than facts. Some said Earth was building a superweapon. Others believed aliens had taken over the planet. No one had answers. Jackson Roan stayed quiet and focused. In his private quarters on Eos, he sat at his console, going through every encrypted file he could access. His face was tense, eyes fixed on the screen. Kalis had promised to contact him as soon as she found something useful from the council's archives. Suddenly, his communicator buzzed. A soft voice came through. "Jackson, it's Kalis. I have something. Meet me at Dock Bay 6. Come alone." Jackson stood at once, grabbed a data drive, and left. The dock bay was dimly lit and mostly empty at this hour. Cargo drones hummed in the background, moving crates of supplies between ships. Kalis stood in a shadowed corner, holding a small case. Her eyes were serious. She handed it to him. "These are surveillance logs and intercepted transmissions between Earth's government and its military sectors. They were flagged, then buried." Jackson plugged the case into his wrist device. The files loaded onto his screen. His brow furrowed as he read. Secret defense satellites launched near Mars. Council trade routes monitored for months. A coded message from Chancellor Viral Thorne. Earth must lead, not follow. Prepare for the shift. Then a video feed played. It was a speech, never broadcast publicly. Viral stood in front of the Earth Parliament, his voice cold and strong. "The Council weakens us. It forces Earth to share its power, its knowledge. No more. We will not answer to aliens or outsiders. We will rise alone, or not at all." The feed ended. Jackson's jaw tightened. "This isn't about protection," he said. "He's turning Earth into a weapon." Kalis nodded. "And he's hiding it behind fear. He tells the people they're in danger, but he's the one creating the threat." Jackson paced slowly. "If we expose this, the Council might back down. They'll see Earth's people aren't the enemy. Thorne is." Kalis looked at him. "But it will also make you a traitor to your own planet." Jackson paused. "I know." There was silence between them. The weight of his choice pressed on him. Earth had given him everything: his life, his duty, his honor. But this wasn't the Earth he knew. This was something darker. He turned back to Kalis. "We need to go further. I need to see it myself. I need to go to Earth." Her eyes widened. "That's dangerous. They'll lock you up the second you land." "Then I won't land," he said. I'll get in another way. He looked out the window at the black sky filled with stars. Viral started something dangerous, but I'm going to end it. Jackson stood inside the small stealth ship, staring out at the cold, dark stretch of space ahead. Earth's blue curve glowed in the distance, surrounded by a web of satellites and defense stations. The closer he got, the heavier his chest felt. This was home, but now it felt like enemy territory. The ship hummed softly around him. It was built for stealth. No lights, no weapons, and almost invisible to sensors. Kalis had helped him get it from a Tyrellan scout fleet. It was his only way in. Approaching Earth's outer shield, the ship's eye whispered, "Cloaking stable. Estimated breach time. 6 minutes." Jackson sat in the pilot's seat and took a deep breath. He checked his wrist device again. The files Kalis gave him were still secure. If he could reach Earth's command center and broadcast the truth, maybe he could stop this before it became a war. The ship passed through the first line of defense, a net of satellites. For a moment, alarms flickered on his screen, but then faded. The cloak held. Jackson whispered, "Almost there." The Earth defense grid was next. It was new, powerful, and fully automated. The record showed it could destroy a cruiser in seconds. He had only one shot. The ship spun slightly and dropped low, gliding through a blind spot near the South Pole. Ice clouds surrounded him. Then, silence. "Shield bypassed," the AI said. Jackson exhaled and locked in the landing path. He didn't aim for a city. He aimed for an old underground port near the Andes Mountains, an old emergency bunker once used for diplomatic landings. Abandoned. Forgotten. The ship landed without sound. Snow blew across the empty landing pad. Jackson stepped out into the freezing air. His breath turned to mist. Inside the bunker, the lights flickered on. Dust covered the walls. He activated his map and found a tunnel that led to Earth's interplanetary command center, a fortress buried deep in the mountain. It took him 2 hours, moving slowly through old maintenance shafts and dark corridors. He avoided cameras and security patrols using backdoor codes still valid from his old days in Earth's service. Finally, he reached the inner levels. The metal halls were bright, clean, full of guards. He hid in shadows, blending in when he could. His uniform, still official, helped him pass unnoticed for now. He reached the broadcast chamber, Earth's central communication room. Inside, a familiar voice echoed. "The Council is broken. They fear Earth's strength. That is why they now threaten us." It was Chancellor Viral Thorn. He stood in front of a camera, addressing Earth's people. A live message. Jackson slipped into the side of the room, unnoticed. Viral continued, "We must protect our planet. No more outsiders. No more weakness. Earth will stand alone, and stronger than ever." Jackson stepped forward. Lies. The guards turned. Some reached for weapons, but Viral raised his hand. "Let him speak," he said with a small smile. "Let the traitor show himself." Jackson stared at the man who had once been a hero, now a shadow of power and fear. "I have proof," Jackson said, raising his wrist device. "You planned this. You fed Earth fear. You made us the threat." Viral's eyes narrowed. "You're too late, Jackson. The people already believe me." Jackson stepped toward the console and connected his device. The screen behind Viral flickered. Then, Kalis's files appeared. Secret messages, hidden plans, surveillance of peaceful council ships. Viral's own words, "We will rise alone, or not at all." The room fell silent. Then the alarms began to sound. Red lights flashed across the command center. Sirens echoed through the halls. Guards moved in fast, shouting orders, but no one dared touch the console. On the large screen behind Jackson, the truth played out in full view. Viral's secret plans, the satellite logs, and the intercepted messages Kalis had risked so much to get. Chancellor Viral Thorn stood frozen. his face pale. He looked around the room, as if searching for a way to take control again. "This is manipulation," he shouted. "Council lies, planted by traitors." Jackson turned to face him, calm and steady. "Then explain the voice in the recordings. Your voice. Explain why Earth's people never saw these files. Why you prepared for war while preaching peace." The command center staff stood still. Some looked down. A few stared at Viral with doubt in their eyes. Viral's voice cracked slightly. "Earth must lead. The Council only uses us. I did what I had to." Jackson stepped forward. "You hid the truth. You isolated us. You used fear to take power." He tapped the console again, broadcasting live across Earth's public networks. Billions of people were now watching, from cities, colonies, and orbiting stations. "This is Jackson Roan," he said clearly. "Earth has been lied to. You were told the Council was the enemy. But Viral planned this separation alone. He created fear to take control. The files you see now are real. They come from both Earth and the Council." Viral moved to shut down the feed, but a technician stopped him. "Sir, the system's locked. It's out there now." Across Earth, the reaction was fast. People took to the streets, angry and confused. Protests began outside government buildings. News networks scrambled to confirm the leaks, but the evidence was overwhelming. Inside the command center, Viral stood completely still. He knew it was over. "You could have led with truth," Jackson said quietly. "You chose control instead." Moments later, security officials arrived. Earth's own forces. They approached Viral. "You're under arrest," one of them said. "By order of the Earth Civil Court." Viral didn't resist. He raised his hands and gave Jackson one last bitter look. "You think they'll thank you, but you've weakened us." "No," Jackson said. "I gave them the truth. What they choose next, that's real strength." As Viral was taken away, Jackson turned back to the broadcast controls. He deactivated the emergency lockdown and opened a line to the Galactic Council. "This is Officer Jackson Roan. Earth's leadership has changed. We're ready to talk." A few moments later, a familiar voice answered. "This is Callus Tharn. The Council is listening." 2 weeks had passed since the truth was revealed. The sky over Earth was calm. Spaceports reopened. Council ships, once feared, were allowed to dock again. The defense grid remained in place, but it was now under the control of a neutral council of Earth's own citizens, not a single man driven by fear. Jackson stood on the balcony of Orbital Station EOS once more, looking down at the blue planet. Everything had changed, but it hadn't collapsed. The people had demanded answers. The truth had sparked protests, but it had also awakened hope. Chancellor Viral Thorn was now awaiting trial for abuse of power and conspiracy against both Earth and the Galactic Council. His closest supporters had either stepped down or fled. A new emergency council was formed on Earth, one made up of leaders from science, diplomacy, and even common citizens. The Galactic Council had paused all military action. They wanted peace, but with conditions. Earth had to promise transparency, cooperation, and peace-building. It was not an easy agreement, but it was a fair one. Jackson had been offered a new role, Earth's official ambassador to the Galactic Council. At first, he wasn't sure he wanted it. He had seen too much. But Callus helped him decide. "People trust you now," she had told him. "You didn't choose a side. You chose the truth. That's what we need." Now, as he stood in the council chambers once again, this time at the center podium, he faced delegates from across the stars. The hall was full, but quiet. All eyes were on him. He spoke simply. Earth made a mistake, not because it was weak, but because it was afraid. That fear led to lies, and those lies nearly started a war. But we are here today because the truth was stronger than fear. We come not in power, but in honesty. And we are ready to rebuild. There was silence at first. Then applause. Kayla smiled from her seat. Other delegates nodded in quiet agreement. Peace was not fully restored, but the path was open. Later that night, Jackson stood alone in the observation dome, looking at Earth. The lights of cities shimmered in the dark. Ships passed by slowly, peacefully. He knew challenges would come, but he also knew something else. This time, Earth would not face them alone.